Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net. Christopher Media, let's make some noise. Welcome to Beer Nuts, a weekly excursion into the world of craft beer, brought to you by MichiganBeerGuide.com. And now, here are the Beer Nuts.
Okay, everybody, welcome to another episode of Beer Nuts. We are doing episode 87 on vanilla beers. So this should be a good episode, one of my favorite adjunct flavors, if you want to call it that. So tonight we have 4 Beer Nuts in the house. We're here with Dugout.
Hey everyone.
Uncle Pete's with us.
Hey, how's it going?
And we got our MVL, or I guess he should probably shake that moniker now. He's a regular on the show, so welcome, Greg.
Hello, everybody.
Or maybe we should just start calling you Schmitty or something.
There you go.
We'll show you a little bit more affection.
There you go.
Schmitty's here with us, and we all have some vanilla beers, but before we move on, just want to start the show by inviting everybody to crack open a beer and enjoy it with us. If you have a vanilla one, fine. If not, that's fine too. No matter what you drink, whether it's anything from Coors Light or Miller Lite or Dilly, or you're a bit of a connoisseur that wants something a little bit more elaborate, hey, there's always room at our table for you. We just enjoy having good beers and exposing more people to more good beers. That's what it's all about, being a beer nut. So I think our first beer nut tonight is going to be Doug, and he's going to introduce us, start out with a quote, and then go right into our first beer. So take it away, Dugout.
Actually, it's Greg that has the quote.
Oh,
Okay,
that's
go ahead,
all right.
Greg.
That's fine. I'll put it out there.
Schmitty, come on, man.
All right.
You got to start showing us some love. So, Schmitty, go ahead and give us a quote.
Schmitty has the quote.
Schmitty's got it. Since we're recording this on Ash Wednesday here for the Catholics out there, I found this one here. It says, "Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. When life's a bitch, beer is a must." Cheers to that.
I love it.
Cheers, everybody.
Amen.
It's also VD today, Valentine's Day. So happy VD, everybody.
That. Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
And I probably shouldn't even be on the show because it's also my anniversary, but I got a pass for tonight because we're celebrating this weekend. So it's a lot of occasions to drink tonight, so I'll drink to that.
All right.
So going back to beer, Dugout is going to start with his beer. So take it away, Dugout. What are you drinking this evening?
Okay, tonight I have from Decadent Ales, Double Toasted Marshmallow IPA. And it's a double IPA. It's clocking in at about 9.5%. So it's got a kick like a mule. It's got a wonderful artwork on the can, very reminiscent of old 50s cartoonish beer ad type characters. So cheers to them for the fantastic artwork. And this beer is, on the outside the can, says our double IPA is dry hopped with a variety of hops featuring Mosaic. We then dry hopped it with a proprietary blend of Madagascar vanilla bean and a variety of Muscovado, Turbinado, and coconut sugars to create mellow sweetness of campfire roasted marshmallows. So I was a little afraid at first because, none of this sounds like it goes together, but pours off a kind of a light golden haze and just a really fine bubbles on the head, almost champagne-like, but they dissipate pretty quickly. In the nose, I get some fruit, maybe some sugar, and kind of a dank pininess. All right, so wow, that's crazy. You get kind of this sort of rum flavor to it, but with a bitterness and a high carbonation content, even though it's not, or it feels like a high carbonation content. The mouthfeel is really silky and smooth. It's got a really pronounced bitterness to it, really, really dank, and you wouldn't expect that for this. Now, the only thing I'm not getting a whole lot of vanilla on this. I just, maybe if I reach and reach and reach, I'll get some of it, but typically vanilla in beer can be very pronounced, and usually is, and it's not really pronounced in this. It's an interesting beer. I think really a marshmallow is more of the texture of it.
More tasty.
I hate to even think of what the calories are in this thing from all the sugar, but it's tasty as hell. And it's got, I don't know, it's got an oddness to it, but I think it's sort of that rum sweetness, sweet booze that comes through in this. I'd definitely get another one. I would highly recommend this to somebody, but not mass amounts. Maybe 1 can, 2 cans. But overall, really cool beer.
Now, Doug, where's Decadent? Did they say on the can where they're from? I've never.
They're out of Boston.
Is it?
Yeah, Dorchester Brewing Company, Boston, Massachusetts, for Decadent Ales.
Huh, okay.
So are they? I don't know. Maybe they're Gypsy Brewing. I don't know a whole lot about them. I mean, all of a sudden they're available in the local area, and there's definitely a buzz about them.
Yeah.
It's really an interesting twist. I mean, I know in a previous barley wine episode where we brought up the point of nobody messes with barley wine, but everybody messes with IPAs. So. Yeah. How much further can you take it? I mean, this is just a sort of a case study, and yeah, you can take it this far.
I saw this in the beer store tonight, and I was tempted to buy it, but I figured I knew you were trying it tonight, Doug, so I was waiting for your review. So now I guess I got the green light to go get some.
I would, absolutely. It's a cool beer.
They had another one, too, a tropical one of some sort. Did you see that one in your travels?
Yes. Greg and I were chatting before the show, and I did see it, but it looked like so much stuff going on in it, like with pineapple and strawberry and coconut. And I was like, no, I think I'm just going to pass on that one.
That might be a 1-can experiment just to see.
Yeah.
The store I was at had 2 cans of what you're drinking and 2 cans of the other one, so I think I'll go for that.
That's all they had left?
No, that's what they I think they got like a case of each, and they said, hey, you know what, we'll just. I think they're kind of realizing what their customers want. That a lot of customers don't want 4 of anything. Yeah. So that's pretty cool that they're doing that.
That's pretty cool.
A couple weeks ago, they did the same thing with some McKellar stuff. They had 4 different ones, so they just 1 can of each in a 4-pack, and they put a price on it. And that was really nice, too. You got to try 4 beers instead of having, buy singles. So it's pretty good. You get to pay the 4-pack price, but you get 4 different beers. I think it's what the customers want these days. A lot of people don't want 4 of anything. They want to experiment, and they want to try one before they decide, I want to go back and buy a whole 4-pack.
Same goes with bombers, too. It's like, do we really want to buy a 22-ounce when it'd be nice to just get like a 12 to 16-ounce can, bottle, whatever, and try it that way before I commit to a full 22. So
yeah, a lot of breweries are discontinuing bombers. Firestone Walker, one of them. The customer wants that smaller, look at us doing these reviews. We don't always want to drink a 22 ounce of something. We want to have a smaller portion. And Pete and I are fortunate enough to be together, but you guys are on your own. And you open a bomber, you got to drink it all.
There you go. Well, I could cork it and save it for the next day, but
never, not happening. It's open.
For me, it will, but
I'm not gonna let that beer go flat now. So speaking of bombers, any more comments on Doug's beer? If not, I'm going to go right into my beer because we had some technical glitches before the show that frustrated me to the point where I had to open mine. So I've already been sipping on my selection tonight, but it is a 22-ounce bomber. And it's called Sensual Being. It's a limited release from Hudsonville Pike 51 Brewing out in Hudsonville, Michigan. The particular batch I'm drinking is batch 4, bottle 578 out of 636. aged in a Four Roses bourbon barrel with Burundi coffee, and it says vanilla is of Mexican origin from Mexico, and raw organic cocoa is in this too. So it's not completely vanilla, but it's got a big picture of a vanilla bean, a flowering vanilla bean on the label. So all the essential beans have vanilla in it. It does have other ingredients too, so it's not just the vanilla bottle. So I'm pouring some more in my glass. I had a nice, healthy. When I popped the top on this, I was afraid that there was no carbonation because I didn't get much of a pop, but there was plenty of carbonation when I poured it. I got a nice light brown head, but it quickly disappears. So I'm definitely getting some booze and some vanilla, maybe a little cocoa on the nose. Mostly booze for me. Pete, you can comment on this too. He's got, since we're together, we're both sampling this. What are you getting on the nose, Pete?
Yeah, it's kind of boozy in my opinion. Very caramely. It smells great. I'm not knocking it in any way at all. So
I'm taking a sip now, and I have been drinking this, I have to confess. But I'm really enjoying it. Definitely a little there's plenty of bourbon in this, but I do get a significant vanilla flavor. Maybe a little bit less on the cocoa, and even less on the coffee. I'm not getting much coffee. There's a little bit in there, but I think that's, out of the three flavors, that would be the least prevalent. And this is from 2016, so it's probably a year and a half old, so maybe the coffee might have faded a bit.
Yeah, I'm not getting really much coffee at all, but it's a very creamy, syrupy mouthfeel.
Beer up.
Heavy vanilla. I get lots of vanilla.
Yep, lots of vanilla and a lot of bourbon, but they're not really separate flavors. They're very well balanced and melded together, as I always like to say in a nice concert. Yeah. But it's a beer that whenever I have a chance to get this, I have some friends in Western Michigan that always reach out to me when it comes out, and I usually get at least one bottle each, usually two of each, to share with friends and so forth. It's one of my favorite. It flies under the radar. A lot of these, bourbon barrel beers, there's people waiting in line, and it's crazy. And they do have lines for this, but generally you can get it in the days and weeks after the release. And I don't know why, because it's one of the best kept secrets in the beer world in Michigan. It's I find it to be wonderful. Now the different batches vary a little bit. This batch 4, I was told, I'm doing a little bit of research online on some of the Untapped ratings. A lot of people think batch 4 was one of the finest batches. I agree, it's excellent, but I've really enjoyed just about all the ones I had. I know recently they had two different bourbons, two different versions. One was a rye whiskey, and then I think one was from Traverse City. Two different batches from two different kinds of barrels, and I was told that out of the new batch, the rye was the best one. But I had one of each, so we'll be able to tell over time. But I know, Doug, I know you got out that way for business travel on occasion, and I know you've visited these guys before. You probably had these beers before. What is your opinion of Hudsonville Pike 51?
Well, Pike 51 is one of my favorite breweries in Western Michigan, believe it or not. It's comboed with a winery, and it's got a sort of a fun, I guess it's a fun setting. I mean, if you like old antiques, there's an antique store next to it. It's part of this whole kind of building complex, and even at night after it's closed, there's all these kind of farm implement old antiques hanging around. So if you're outside walking around a place, you can just check this stuff out. And, it's sort of like shopping, even though they're not open. But phenomenal lineup of beers. They do some really good IPAs, particularly one called Double Kush. There's obviously Single Kush. I think we had Double Kush out at the Fall Beer Festival, and definitely one of my favorites from them. Absolutely. But they do a lot of really, really good beers, and it's a very fun, friendly place. just very laid back and a little bit of an older crowd. Highly recommend anybody that's in the Hudsonville, Holland, Grand Rapids area to check the place out. I mean, there's White Flame is just a block away, so you can hit 2 for 1 there. And White Flame does some great stuff as well.
Yeah, thanks for the intel there. I've stopped by there one time, but I had to hit and run. I had the family with me. But Pete, let's get your comments on this. I noticed you just finishing up your glass. What are your thoughts on this beer? Any flavors to strike you out?
Yeah, as I commented, I mentioned it's a really good, full-flavored vanilla and bourbon. I'm not getting a lot of coffee. It's got a great syrupy, sweet mouthfeel. It seems as though, I think you mentioned it's 2 years old or so. I bet it's just kind of evened right out, and the coffee dropped off. It's very pleasant. I just finished my glass. Didn't take me long at all, and it was very nice. I'd search it out. Yeah,
definitely. So, anybody ever out that way, that's on the way to Oddside and Grand Haven, stop on Hudsonville. I believe it's between Grand Rapids and Grand Haven, right? So, great job, Pike 51.
Not quite. I mean, it's probably between. If you veer off to the right a little bit, if you're leaving New Holland and you're heading towards Grand Haven, then veer to the right a little bit, hit Hudsonville. And you can get right back on the way. You can either take a right turn and go into Grand Rapids, or sort of veer off to the left and go back up to Grand Haven.
So many breweries, so little time. All right, well, that's a great beer. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Pete. And Pete, I think you're up next with your selection. Tell us what you got.
All right, I got Griffin Claw, You Figure It Out, Coconut Vanilla Milk Stout. And let me open it up. It comes in a pint can, and I don't know, did you mention earlier, JR, the relatively low cost of a 4-pack of this beer?
Yeah, our local store here, Discount Drinks and Wyandotte, has these. They're running a special on, I think, all the main Griffin Claw line for $6.99 for 4 16-ounce cans of this. And I get a 4-pack of this almost every time I go to the beer store. It's just an easy drinker. I don't want to steal Pete's thunder. I'll let him review it, but it's one of the best values out there right now. Really good flavor for $6.99. That's less than $2 a can. For a 16-ounce can, that's a great bargain. But I'll let Pete tell us about the beer.
All right, yeah, and I didn't pass it up when I saw it for that price. I also, my eyes kind of popped out of my head. I don't know if Griffin Claw was just running a special or what, but I couldn't pass it up for the price. And so let me talk a little bit first about the can. It's got a couple of coconut-clad mermaids on the front, kind of hugging up to a, what do you call that, JR? Like a tiki man, or what is that?
Yeah, it looks like a like one of the totem poles or something.
Yeah, a tiki totem pole man with he's got a palm trees and like he's at a luau or something,
Yeah, definitely a tiki then. Probably goes in with the Hawaiian coconut theme.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely poured dark. Getting a little tinge of light through the edges. I got a pretty good amount of head on mine, but I'm in more of a tulip sort of a glass compared to JR. He's got a snifter where I've got probably 2 fingers ahead, and he's got just about none. But anyway, it's a nice off-color head. Let me give it the aroma. Yeah, I pick up a coconut right off the top on this one. Very prominent. You let it sink in a little bit, and you pick up little hints of vanilla. Okay. Can't wait to taste it. Ooh, coconut right up front. Very tasty. Not really an alcoholic beer. I think it's a low ABV, around 6%. Not very heavy bodied at all. Very light bodied, quite honestly. This one has warmed up for probably the last 30, 40 minutes, so it's probably on the warmer side than cooler. But very prominent on the coconut with just some traces of vanilla. And I think really this one would be classified as one of those, kind of a quaffer compared to a lot of the stouts with vanilla and stuff that we taste. The last one we just had, the Pike 51, the vanilla and the bourbon barrel was much more full-bodied, where this is much less so. And nonetheless, the flavor and the aroma is just really, really good. If you love coconut, toasted coconut, the lactose really comes through with the sweetness. That's very nice. It doesn't give me a lot of roast, in my opinion. A lot of really dark, no dark bitter chocolates or anything like that, but it's just very prominent on the coconut, followed by the vanilla. What do you think, JR?
Yeah, like I said, it's an easy drinker. It would almost strike me as closer to a porter than a stout, just because it's a little thinner, especially coming off the beer we just had, which is thicker in syrup, more full bodied. But again, you're talking about like a beer in the 6% range, so it's a little bit more sensual. I can crush a couple of these, no problem. It's real easy to drink, real pleasant. It's got that lactose in it, so there's a touch of sweetness. Coconut would be the prominent flavor, but I can taste the vanilla backing up the coconut. It's actually a pretty enjoyable, flavorful beer. I mean, take it for what it's worth. I mean, we mentioned that it's very good, attractive price on this, but for that price, I wouldn't expect to get a 9% full-bodied stout. But again, I find myself going back to it because it's an easy drinker that I can have a few of these, and I think it's a great value and a great tasting beer. So
I think it's a good one to introduce some of your friends or whatever relatives that might not want to fill up, or they're scared of filling up on a full-bodied stout. And being a light bodied and a low alcohol and a decent crusher, this would be a good one to start them out on, which might warm them up to the idea of tasting some other stouts down the road.
Yeah, I would agree. And even more sophisticated drinkers that have had some of the better stuff. I mean, this would be a good beer if you're in it for the long haul. This isn't one of those ones where you're going to have one or two beers and be done for the night. But if you're this would be a great beer to tailgate with.
Yeah, it's like it's the all-day IPA of coconut vanilla flavored stouts.
Yeah. So it's kind of like we used to say, Doug Out and I used to say when we were in the Newcastle business, full flavored yet easy to drink. So yeah, I think it's just a great, solid job. Has any of the other guys had this yet?
Absolutely, great stuff.
Yeah, and Griffin Claw is just right down the street, so I always love this stuff.
Yeah, my niece's husband is a rep for them, and he's always got a little bit on hand as well when we get together. So, as well as the other Griffin Claw offerings, but there's not much about this beer on the internet, quite honestly. As far as the Griffin Claw website, I was kind of surprised. They tend to highlight more of their, the year-round offerings that they have, but very good beer. I'm glad I had a chance to share it with everybody.
Well, I think there's a lot of people out there that haven't figured it out, but the beer nuts have figured out that this is a great value. I guess it's another one that flies under the radar, but you can't beat it. I mean, for $7 for a 4-pack, I mean, it's a great, it's hard to find a crushable, flavorful beer like this, but at 6%, I guess you could argue that it is kind of crushable.
Now, I might mention that I did make a variant of the Robert the Habanero Stout that I like to make, which had toasted coconut and vanilla in it. And quite honestly, I think I loaded it up with a little more coconut and vanilla than this has, but I'm a little biased maybe. But I like this style of beer. I like these flavors put together. That's a good combination.
I would agree. It's a great job. Thanks for sharing it. And I think it's time to go to Greg for our grand finale of the evening, and it's a good one. Tell us about your beer, Greg.
All right. Well, I've got a collaboration between Transient Artisan Ales out of Bridgman, Michigan, and Chicago, Illinois, and the Beer Cellar, which I guess is a local establishment, beer liquor store over there in Glen Ellen, Illinois. This is their creation of Neckbeard Nectar, which is an imperial stout. aged on Madagascar vanilla beans. It's 12.5%. This is, from what I've seen on the internet, this is typically released around, at least in the Illinois area, around the Black Friday week or weekend or something like that. So, but I was very fortunate that Transient brings some of their products over to this side of Michigan here and distributes it at 8 Degrees Plato, and was able to pick up a bottle of this, and very excited to try this for this episode that we're recording tonight. So I've had this open for probably about half an hour, 40 minutes, let it warm up a little bit, and when I poured it, it pours in a really dark brown. You really can't see anything through it, so I guess you call it black, and it was probably like a half a finger of had that poured, but it dissipated quickly, being 12.5%. And there's some great alcohol legs running down the glass as I swirl it around here, and as I give it a nice sniff here, it smells like decadent chocolate, and you get that vanilla bean. You get a little bit of the roast out of there from the malts, and you get a sip out of this here. Although I'll admit I have been sipping a little bit out of it as we've been talking here. More of the same as I described in the smell. Really rich chocolate, nice medium mouth feel to it. Really coats the mouth real well. You pick up that vanilla bean really nicely. Really nice offering from these guys. Anything Transient seems to release is top notch in my books, and this is no different. And I'm glad I've got multiple of these bottles. I can let the other one age for a little bit and see how it differs maybe a few months from here. But excellent offering from these guys. I don't know if you guys have had this as well, but I mean, this is fantastic.
I have not had it, but I have a bottle that I've been sitting on in my cellar, and now it only makes me want to run down there now and crack it open. It's a nice review. I know I've heard from many people that it's a really good one. Somebody in Western Michigan grabbed this for me. I'm really happy to know that some of it actually made it into distribution on our side of the state. But sounds like a home run.
The only way this could get better is maybe barrel aging this, and I've heard that they have done this before, but in barrel aging, but yet to see it, but would love to see it and get that to try as well.
That's the one I've had, is the bourbon barrel. And that one I picked up at the brewery just before Christmas time. I was driving to Chicago, and I stopped and I got 2 bottles of it. And we had one of the bottles over Christmas, and even the beer drinkers alike were going, "Oh my God, this is so good." And then I had the second bottle, and I could have sat on it, but I had an event with my homebrew club, the KGB, and it was a Christmas party, which is never at Christmas; it's in January. So when I brought this as a share bottle to the Christmas party, and oh my God, it was like Goose Island Who. The bourbon barrel age is superb, absolutely superb. It's one of the best beers I think I've had in a very long time. I could easily say it's the best beer I've had all year because I drank it in January. But man, the bourbon barrel was just insane, just so good, and beautiful flavors of vanilla and bourbon and cocoa and dark fruits. And as the night went on, the bottle warmed up a little bit, and it just got better and better.
Now I've seen like past versions; they've had it a little different. Maybe some cinnamon in there. I believe maybe some coffee they've added. There's no mention of that on this, but I mean there's a little bitterness to this, in the finish. But I think they've changed it up a little bit. Maybe in the last 2 years or year, whatever it is. But yeah, I mean, the way you described that barrel age, that's making me want that more and more. So that's good stuff.
It's off the charts. I mean,
oh man,
it's funny how there are these beers that garner this national reputation, and people just crawl all over each other to get them, and yet we have that same quality of beer here in this state. And we have to beg for our distributors to carry it so we can get it. But when we do get it, it's like, oh my God, this is so good. And I almost feel I'm doing a disservice by talking it up so much because then there's less for us.
And for the price that I paid, I mean, for a 22-ounce bottle, you would think the way we described it, it was going to be, way up there in price. But I think I saw the price tag, and I mean, for $16 for a 22-ounce bottle. I mean, that's an excellent offering from them for the price point. I mean, it's
the bourbon was $25.
Okay, that's not bad.
Which fair enough. I mean, for what you get out of that 22 ounces, it's well worth every penny.
Sounds like it.
I would agree. Well, Pete and I are kind of jealous listening to all that, but we came up with a little Meritage of our own. We have half of a glass of actual bean and half of, you figure it out. So now we got a little bit of bourbon, coconut, it all going on.
You got a cuvee going, huh?
We do got a cuvee going on.
Wow.
So we gotta have a future episode coming up with Meritage.
Yeah, Meritage, cuvee, whatever you want to call it. But absolutely, yeah. I mean, this is really tasty. It was a pretty good find. I kind of thought that might be a good fit. What do you think, Pete?
Well, I mean, if there's a third one we could add, we could do a three-way. Wait a minute. I can't do that.
Not on Valentine's Day.
Well, this is coming from the guy that called it VD Day.
Well, okay, you're right. It's VD. All right, fair enough. You got me there. Well, as long as we're talking about vanilla, want to just have Pete describe the beer he just bottled, dear to our heart.
Oh, sure, yeah. So it's sitting nice and quietly in the dark down in the cellar, but I don't plan on cracking the first one out for probably a month. I'd like to let it sit and carbonate for a while. The Robert de Habanero recipe number 5 is in the bottle, and JR and I were fortunate enough to cook up about 8 gallons of that bad boy, and we aged it in our freshly dumped whiskey barrels that we got on Black Friday. So that was a really fun exercise, learning for us. We were kind of anxious at first to get it in the barrel and then hurry up and get it out, for the concern that maybe it would be over-barreled or over-influenced. And my first taste after about a week, I was probably a little more willing to let it go longer than JR. He was concerned, we shouldn't let it go too long, it might overdo it. But I think we let it go for, it was at least a month, if not 5 to 6 weeks. And I'll tell you, when we siphoned a sample out of there and tasted it, we were both very, very pleased and delighted. So it's in the bottle and carbonating. I added the habanero tincture. I only put a couple tablespoons of habanero in mine. We split it down the middle, 4 gallons apiece. So JR likes his a little warmer than me, so I'm sure he'll put a few more extra dollops of habanero tincture than I did. But I was quite happy with the warmth that it provided, and just that rich chocolatey vanilla roasty flavor up front, and followed by that warming expansion as it goes down the back of your palate. Very, very good beer. I'm so glad that it was really a brainchild of my niece's husband, the guy I was telling you that's a rep for Griffin Claw now, and his creative mind is where this whole thing hatched. So it's going to go on for years and years and years. I don't think I'm ever going to stop making it.
Well, we might get to try some later, because my portion of it is in a keg, and we haven't added the habanero yet, but I could easily maybe tap us out a little bit after we go off the air here.
Oh, yeah. Force carbonated yours, so it's ready to go.
It's good to go, but no habanero, so it'll be, I don't know what, it'll be Tony Montana.
It'll be a virgin.
So we neglected to do our segment of the Hipster Tipster on Craft Beer News this week, but I have a couple stories I'd like to just talk about briefly before we end the show. So I wanted to first of all start off the news. Stone is suing Miller Coors. Miller Coors has been marketing their Keystone crappy, I guess, natural light, cheapo, adjunct lager, whatever. I mean, because there might be some listeners that like that stuff, and I don't want to offend you, but at least call it Keystone. They're starting to brand it as, like, grab a stone, or, I don't know, maybe they have 2 stones or no stones. But they did one of the owners of Stone made a video, about a 5-minute video, this week explaining why they are suing Miller Coors, is they have to protect their name, and they do show cans that have really big letters that says Stone, and then the key is very small, and then the light is very small, Keystone Light. So at the very end of the video it says, all we're asking you to do is put the key back in Keystone. Stop calling it Stone. We don't want consumers damages our integrity of our brand when you're trying to call Keystone Stone. So that was in the news this week. So the big winners in this and any type of lawsuit, of course, will be the lawyers, but it is craft beer news, and that's what the Hipster Tipster is about. So other plans released today for Three Floyds doing a massive expansion. They have applied to, I guess, the local government there with some plans to do a major expansion. We can only hope that maybe will one day bring Zombie Dust to Michigan. That would be a huge win for us Michiganders, and hopefully neighboring states, maybe Ohio will get some more of Zombie Dust. It's a great pale ale, not overly priced, and very good beer at a very good price. So $40 a case when you go to the brewery, although I think they just raised it like $1 a 6-pack.
Yeah, and having been there many times, I don't know about Greg, but I know Doug and JR and I have all been there.
That's on my to-do list, or on my bucket list, I mean, places to go. So
in that industrial park.
Yeah, love it. Been there many times.
You know, they did expand a couple of years back and built up a distillery right there on the property. And I haven't had a chance to. Is that even available yet? I don't know, but the years I was up there working in Chicago and all the times I visited, I never got a chance to, every time I was there, the distillery wasn't open. I think they were cooking away in there and making a lot of good stuff and probably putting it in barrels and letting it set. But I'm happy as heck to see
them. They had their
expanding.
hands tied. They've had the money. They obviously look like they have the space, but their hands have always been tied by government regulations via state. And so it's possible those have been lifted a little bit. So several breweries, all around, many breweries all around Indiana that are doing really great things. And, why stifle the business, really?
Right. And that place.
I mean, there's so much good stuff going on in that state beer-wise.
And when you go to the existing facility right now, I mean, it is small as far as the dining area, the bar area. And if you go down for Dark Lord,
that's bottling and brewing and everything.
I mean, out back behind the tap room, yeah, certainly there's a large facility behind it, which the general person going in there doesn't get to see. But I'm just saying, the dining and the tap room is really tiny compared to some of the other larger ones we've been to.
All right, well, I got one more. Let me put my mic back on. I got one more story to share, and this is just, it's kind of a cool thing. Michigan grows to #1 in hops production outside the Pacific Northwest. Michigan is now the #4 state, I believe it is. See here. Michigan in 2017 grew to more than double the 400 acres of fifth-ranked New York with 810 acres. Now, that being said, that number remains far behind Washington, Oregon, and Idaho, which held all but 2% of the 55,786 U.S. hop farm acres. So put it in perspective, we're a blip on the radar compared to the 3 states in the Pacific Northwest. But, hey, from the acorn grows the mighty oak, right? So glad to see that Michigan's advancing in the hop producing states, now to number 4. So long way to go to catch those big players. Washington is massive with 38,000. Oregon 7,800 and about 7,000 for Idaho. We're up to 810. So long way to go, but hey, progress is progress, and happy, always good to see more hops coming out of Michigan, and that'll enable us to have more homegrown brands with all Michigan ingredients by some of our Michigan breweries. So that was another news item I wanted to share, and I think that's about it. Anybody else have anything to share? Any upcoming releases or anything? Can't think of anything earth-shattering here.
Just a bit of beer news for those people in Ohio, and for fans of Fatheads. I know we're pretty much all fans of Fatheads. Make some great beers, and they are opening a new location in Canton, and I believe it's in downtown Canton. There's already one brewery down there, but it'll be a nice addition to that area. And man, get out and see. If you've never been to Fatheads, make it a point to go there. What a great brewery!
I might have to hit them up for some trademark infringement.
Yeah, you know what, Uncle Pete, I bought it. Actually, it was given to me. It was in Indianapolis a couple weeks ago, and it hit the local, really awesome beer store. And I said, second day, you know what? I'm staying in a hotel. I'm tired of drinking out of paper cups. What kind of good glasses you got? And he's like, shows me a Fatheads and shows me a 6 Point. I'm like, I'll take them both. And he's like, I'll just throw them in. You probably spent like $150 here the last few days. And they're my gift to you.
I love it.
Well, I did find one more story I wanted to share. Baffin Brewing Company, which I believe is up near Chris, up in the St. Clair Shores area, I believe. Baffin. They brewed a stout yesterday called made from Putschkis, which are the Fat Tuesday donuts that they serve real big in the Polish community, which there's a lot of. It's a big deal here in Michigan. The Putschkis, and it's Paczki, but it's pronounced Putschki. So Baffin Brewery Company brewed a sweet drops mix of sweet Putschki into a new stout that will be released in a couple weeks. There's a story on my Twitter from on the Free Press, freak.com. You can find the story, or go to my Michigan Beer Guy Twitter, and you'll see that I retweeted the story. But for those of us in Michigan, we love these. I guess they're extra fat and filling donuts. You're supposed to stuff yourself with before Lent. And they come in all kinds of fruits. I don't know what fruit they brew this one in, but you know what? I'm really interested. I gotta find this. I'm gonna seek this beer out and try it.
I saw the video.
Yeah,
they had like 40 pounds of these, looked like jelly-filled punchkis they had, and they were just mushing them up and throwing them into the kettle. And I was like, oh yeah. And I told my wife about it, and she was shaking her head.
That's awesome.
There's
a lot.
And I'm like, yeah, that's awesome.
I was hearing like the caloric content in those things were just off the charts. Like
It's like 400 or 500 calories each.
yeah, no, well, one was like the equivalent of 3 Big Macs.
Oh my gosh.
That's disturbing.
Yeah, or a blooming onion.
Well, hopefully there's a cardiologist around the corner. All right, well, let's make it a point to seek that out, Uncle Pete and Doug and Greg. Maybe we can all make a little road trip up there and try this stuff when it's ready.
Yeah, sounds good.
I'm sold.
All right, well, anybody else have any closing comments? If not, I think it's about time to go to Mexico.
Wow, let's head there.
All right. Well, thanks again. We're going to give you a preview for next week. Next week's episode is going to be on double IPAs. So I can hear Doug already like clapping and doing jumping jacks in the background. Probably his all-time favorite style, although maybe a triple IPA would be more appropriate for him. But so look for that next week. And for now, as they say in old Mexico City, AMF.
AMF.
If you like this show, please tell a friend. Please follow us on Twitter and like and share us on Facebook by searching for Christopher Media. You can subscribe to all ChristopherMedia.net shows for free on ChristopherMedia.net. Please make sure to rate and comment on all your favorite Christopher Media shows. Thank you in advance for supporting Christopher Media by clicking on the PayPal button and by clicking through to all the sponsors who support ChristopherMedia.net. Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net, and thank you for listening. Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.